Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. We have had described to us an enemy in al-Qaeda and in bin Laden who is agile and entrepreneurial. And so the question that I have tried to ask throughout these hearings is, who is our quarterback? Who is the person in the U.S. government responsible for facing off against this enemy with all the tools that we have available? And you are the leaders of the key entities in that fight, putting aside the military aspect for the moment. So what I'd like to do is ask each of you, in the time I have available to me, one question. Now, the question has 6 parts. I'm learning from Slade. So if you have a pen, I would like to have this answer from each of you. Are you responsible for, 1, developing our strategy against al-Qaeda? 2, determining what information we need to collect? 3, ordering the collection of that information across all agencies of our government? 4, collecting and fusing all of the information that we have? 5, warning us when there is the possibility of a major terrorist attack? And 6, running coordinated foreign and domestic operations against al-Qaeda? And maybe we can start with you, Mr. Pavitt. Speaking as you are for yourself and for the CTC, you can put your pencils down and fill in the little blanks there.
I'm responsible for developing the operational strategy using human agents and technical activities that are enabled by human agents. So I have that responsibility to devise that strategy. Now, just so I can clarify that, that would be different for other parts of the intelligence community that might have a different role in that. Charlie Allen, for example, might play a role in developing a collection strategy across the board. The human part is my responsibility, and in point of fact, the Counterterrorist Center has developed a strategy for attacking al-Qaeda.
Through human sources?
Through human sources, yes, ma'am. Determining what info we need to, if you will, disseminate.
The information you need to collect. That is, where are the holes?
Again, senior collection manager, Mr. Allen, would play a critical role in that. I think John Brennan would play an important role in that, but so would the men and women in CTC who are driving the day in and day out activity. What do we need to collect to defeat al-Qaeda? What do we need to collect to find where Osama bin Laden and al-Zawahiri are hiding so we can go against them? That would be something that we would develop as well. And there, frankly, is a fusion. And you have a good many people working on that, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It may sound like it causes confusion, but in my business, the more data we can have and the more input we can have helps us get an answer to a tough question. I can't read number 3.
Well, I'll help you out here. Can you order the collection of data that you don't have within your own domain?
I can certainly request. I cannot give I can't necessarily give an order which is the same order that would carry the same authority that the DCI's order would give. But I can go to the National Security Agency and ask for their assistance.
Can you go to the FBI and order it?
Certainly can go to the FBI. And in fact, the FBI is co-located with us. So we're doing this together in any event. But yes, I could ask for FBI domestic activity to support something that we were doing.
And
yes.
Could you order it?
Yes.
You could order the FBI to collect something.
Well, I could ask. I wouldn't presume to order John to do anything, but I would certainly be able to work with him. I cannot give that order, no. If you're asking whether, from a bureaucratic point of view, that I can give a hard order, no, I cannot. Collecting and fusing. We collect aggressively, and it is fused, at least in part, in CTC. Now, what I collect, I also disseminate. I disseminate an intelligence report. That goes to a broad array of customers. And that's part of my responsibility. It's human intelligence that I disseminate. The fusing of the intelligence goes to what our analytic entity in CTC produces. And then it goes into a variety of other forums where it, again, is touched and looked at. I collect and I fuse operational information. I disseminate human intelligence. Warning, my intelligence reporting can warn. It can say that we are going to be attacked here at the Capitol at such and such a time, such and such a day. That would be a warning. It is an intelligence report that I've disseminated. Others with responsibility for warning would actually sound the alarm throughout the United States government, local, state governments. And domestic operations, I am prescribed by law from running operations in the United States of America.
So you would run the foreign and someone else would run the domestic operations against Al-Qaeda?
Yes, ma'am. Now, when in close cooperation with the FBI, we are doing more, particularly as things have changed post 9/11, to work the target across the board. But I do not have either law enforcement responsibilities, and I have very clear, unambiguous prescriptions on what I can do domestically.
Thank you. Mr. Pistole.
Yes, and in response to your first question, are we responsible for developing strategy? Yes, based on the identifying and defining what the current threat is in the U.S. And we do that through each of our individual 56 field offices, which do a threat assessment, which then is fed into a national threat assessment, which we are migrating that in this new environment, if you will, to do that collectively with DHS and with TTIC. But yes, we do have a responsibility in developing the strategy for combating.
But you, just to be clear, you are developing the strategy for your own
Yes.
collection.
Yes.
And while you communicate with others, you're not responsible for the collection as a whole.
Correct. Second, deciding which information to be collected, yes, with other agencies. And for example, DHS recently just gave us our first set of requirements, information they are looking for. But yes, we can, and getting into the third question then, in terms of ordering collection, setting requirements, yes, we can clearly set requirements, requesting information from other agencies, just as the other agencies can do that with us, and which, they, as I said, DHS has just recently done that with their first set of requirements.
But again, it comes in as a request as opposed to an order.
Yes, it's a request, but we are, for example, the Homeland Security Act compels us to provide that information, just as the National Security Act of 47 does in that regard. So yes, it's a request, but it's provided. The fourth, collecting and fusing information. Clearly, we are one of the largest collectors of information, intelligence, and evidence, obviously, in the U.S., and we do fuse that with the TTIC and with DHS IAIP. So again, it's a collaborative effort, but we do have that responsibility for collecting and sharing that information. Fifth, on the warning, our warning, the FBI's warning, is primarily to state and local law enforcement, where we have a 95-year history of interaction with state and local law enforcement. We provide them information. We do a number of our warnings now, if you will, with the Department of Homeland Security, do collaborative pieces as opposed to individual pieces. But we still maintain that relationship, for example, through the National Academy and through other entities that have that relationship with state and local police. On the last question, in terms of running coordinated foreign and domestic ops, obviously we don't run foreign ops, but we do have responsibility through the JTTS for running domestic ops, and we have a number of undercover operations, a number of joint initiatives with the agency, with CTC, in terms of trying to do things that will infiltrate al-Qaeda.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, I'm responsible for intelligence strategy, not the overall strategy for the Department of Homeland Security. I am responsible for determining what intelligence collection we undertake. In my view, I would use the word managing the collection requirements that we have.
Again, this is within your own agency.
Within the Department of Homeland Security, but keep in mind the subordinate agencies of the department also have their own intelligence collection capabilities and their own authorities. We work together, but I'm the point of central coordination for all of that. I'm responsible for fusing this information together. There's no doubt about that.
Again, within your own agency.
Yeah, within my own agency. I looked at TTIC to do the larger fusion process for the United States in large measure overseas, but in some significant measure now domestically. And all three of us sitting here would have, all four of us, I guess, but in the case of fusion, we three, the Terrorism Threat Integration Center, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Department of Homeland Security would do that together. And I don't think you can identify it as a singular activity. It has to be a form of teamwork to come to grips with all of the complexity of that. I'm distinctly responsible for issuing warning in the context of intelligence from the Department of Homeland Security for the domestic condition.
Okay, just so I want to hone in on that. When you say distinctly responsible, you mean across the government, that you have a responsibility for warning across the government about a terrorist threat?
I think my secretary
Well,
actually has that responsibility.
and you support him in that?
I'm the intelligence officer who will provide him with the information to make the right decisions to take that action.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I do not coordinate operations.
Mr. Brennan?
With our 124 officers, we now are in the process of overseeing the overall U.S. government analytic strategy vis-a-vis al-Qaeda, which is an orchestration role, since there are many different elements within the U.S. government that have an analytic capability. For example, we're orchestrating the effort that we have to undertake analytically as a government vis-a-vis the upcoming Olympics in Greece, as far as what has to be done. So it's an orchestration role. Regarding determining what information to collect as well as ordering collection, there is the National Intelligence Priorities Framework that the intelligence community as a whole operates within. For each intelligence area, there is a topic manager identified. As Director TTIC, I am identified as the topic manager for the National Intelligence Priorities Framework. And so working with the ADCI for collection and others, TTIC drives the collection process in conjunction with the other elements there. But as the topic manager, from the analytic perspective, we in fact play a leading role in that process.
I just would like a little clarity on this. So you were saying that you have the responsibility for determining across our government what the, information we should gather together and tasking people to gather it and bring it back. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that we are in the process of playing a leading role in that as the National Intelligence Priorities Framework topic manager on terrorism, but working in conjunction with many of the other elements and individuals in the U.S. government who have a share of that responsibility. So I wouldn't say that I am the one who determines exactly what should be collected, where, and when. I play a role in that process. I also, though, and TTIC, chair the Interagency Intelligence Committee on Terrorism, the IICT, which is an interagency group beyond the core partner agencies that are represented in TTIC, including the non-Title 50 organizations that participate in the process, to work with them on a regular basis, and that group meets quarterly to look at the priorities that are attached to the terrorist groups and the challenges that face the U.S. That process of the IICT then is fed into the National Intelligence Priorities Framework through the normal collection requirements process system. Regarding warning.
Warning, yes.
Warning, the IICT has the responsibility in the intelligence community for issuing various types of warnings, advisories, alerts, warnings, issuing assessments. TTIC has issued by itself, as well as on behalf of the community, a number of different alerts and advisories. But the intelligence community responsibility, as far as the intelligence community function, to issue warning, alerts, advisories, rests with the IICT, and TTIC now has the responsibility. As General Hughes said, what he will then do is to work what his responsibilities are to ensure that that alert or advisory or warning then is propagated beyond the federal family, beyond the intelligence community. Similarly, for overseas, the Department of State takes those alerts and warnings and ensures that they are passed then to the appropriate entities.
This is very helpful. So you have the responsibility within TTIC to determine when there should be a warning, and then you provide it to the Department of Homeland Security, and they implement the warning? Am I understanding that correctly?
There is intelligence community warnings, alerts, advisories that are issued, and TTIC now has a responsibility for doing that. That is correct. And then we issue them in partnership with CIA, FBI, DHS, DIA, and others. They are frequently interagency warnings, community warnings, that then are used by DHS, FBI, and others to then pass that warning and to do what they need to do to issue bulletins, advisories, or whatever that go out to the non-federal family.
And if you could address the issue of the collection of all source information and the decision of how to run coordinated foreign and domestic operations. Do you have, are you our quarterback in either of those places?
No, I'm not. I'm on the sidelines there. I don't have any operational or collection responsibilities. It was determined that TTIC would only have an analytic and intelligence fusion function. So the intelligence and information that Jim Pavitt's organization and John Pistole's organization and Lieutenant General Hughes' organization collect, we have the responsibility for putting those pieces together of that puzzle, but we do not collect, we do not operate.
And one follow-up question. Can you direct any of your colleagues on what needs to be collected?
Through the processes that have been established, through the National Intelligence Priorities Framework, and through the collection requirement system that is very well oiled, particularly on the foreign intelligence side, we play a role in that, a leading role, and we put our regular requirements into that they then take as collection priorities as established by the analytic community. And again, TTIC plays a key role in that.
Thank you very much.